Hey everybody, thanks for joining me again. Today I'd like to go over what is called behavior chaining. And as always, you can find the PowerPoint available on the Facebook page. And if you're watching this from YouTube, make sure you guys subscribe and like and share. So I wanted to get into behavior chaining. It's one of my favorite topics. And the cool thing about chaining behaviors is we do it all the time. And most of the time we don't realize we're doing it. So what is chaining? Chaining is linking all the steps or behaviors together to complete a larger task. So things that we do on a daily basis that are considered chaining are like brushing your teeth, cooking from a recipe, or even just getting a pop or a soda. I'm from Ohio, y'all, so it's pop, sorry. Getting a pop from a vending machine. So what we're doing is we're combining smaller tasks to get a bigger task completed. So like for brushing your teeth, you're going to go through the steps of taking your toothbrush out. You're going to open up the toothpaste, put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, close the toothpaste, wet the brush, put it in your mouth, brush all over. That's chaining. The end task you're completing is brushing your teeth. So there are a couple different types of chaining. I am going to cover 4 of them today. Technically 3, because 1 is the step you need prior to even starting a chaining procedure. So we'll be going over task analysis and forward chaining, backwards chaining, and total task chaining. So I know all that sounds crazy and complicated, but I promise it's not as bad as it sounds. So the first thing I want to talk about is a task analysis. Task analysis is literally the steps broken down to complete the larger task. So when I labeled all the things you needed to do to brush your teeth, that was a task analysis. So you always want to have this prior to starting a chaining procedure. So it determines the steps that you're going to require somebody to do during the chaining process. And also, when you're doing a task analysis, whether it's at home or your therapist is doing it at your child's clinic or they're doing it in the school setting, you're going to either want to complete the task yourself, or they will complete it themselves, or watch somebody who knows how to do the task and then write down all the steps you did. That way you make sure you hit up all those steps, you're not forgetting anything. So the next one is called forward chaining. Now, forward chaining is just what it sounds like. It goes with the natural flow of the steps. So what will happen is your child will complete the first step of the task analysis or the task that you want them to do. So let's say it's hand washing. So the first thing that they're going to do is turn on that water. So once they've turned that water on, we're going to reinforce them. Great job, you did it. And then you do the rest of those steps for them and talk them through it. So once you turn on that water, you put their hands in and say, let's wet our hands. Now let's get soap. Oh, let's scrub. And then you do your little song for however long, I like 10, 15 seconds, depending on how dirty your kids' hands are. And then, oh, now we're rinsing. Oh, let's turn off that water. Now let's get a towel. So you are doing all those steps and showing your child what they're expected. Once they've got that turning on the faucet or that very first step down or independent, we a lot of times refer to that as being mastered. So once they have that mastered, you can go on to the next step. So now they can turn on that water independently and they can put their hands under it independently. Then you give them their little treat. Oh, yeah, great job. And you do that all the way through until they're able to complete that entire task by themselves. Next is backwards chaining, and there are two types of backwards chaining, but I'm not going to talk about the other type. I'm just going to talk about the very typical backwards chaining that's used a lot in ABA. Backwards chaining, while it kind of sounds like you would start from the end and begin all over, it's not really like that. So what you would do is, as the parent or the teacher or the therapist, whatever position you're in, you would do all the steps up to the last step. And then the child would do that one independently, and then they would get their reinforcer. So I've done it to where I've done a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with somebody. So I got out all the ingredients and the plate and the knives. Then I got the bread out. I opened the peanut butter and spread it. Opened the jelly and spread it. Put the bread together, cut the sandwich, and then the child closed the lid to the peanut butter or the jelly or the bread or whatever. And that was the last step that they completed. And the reinforcer was, hey, I got my sandwich right now. I didn't have to do this whole thing just to get the sandwich, because a lot of times kids don't want to wait. I know they have a really short attention span. And if you're hungry, are you really going to want to sit there and make that whole sandwich when you're not used to doing it yourself and then wait? And it's really, really difficult. So by using backwards chaining, the child actually gets the step closest to the reinforcer. That way, once they've completed the task, they don't have to do anymore, and boom, they get the sandwich. It's fantastic. It is actually one of the most effective types of chaining, and honestly, it's my favorite. I probably shouldn't have a favorite, but backwards chaining works. Then there's total task chaining. Total task chaining is exactly what it sounds like. This one is kind of hard on children, especially if they have attention issues or aggression, or they're not used to doing something. I wouldn't use total task chaining personally, but it does work for some people. So what total task chaining is exactly what it sounds like. Before you get that reinforcer, you have to complete the entire task. So it's like, let's say that the task you're doing is baking a cake. So you have to do all the mixing and the stirring, get the ingredients together, preheat the oven. Then you've got to put the cake in the oven, let it cool, frost and decorate it before you can have that cake. And that's so hard. I mean, because I know I want to dive into a cake the minute it comes out of the oven. But you don't, but the task isn't complete. So then you don't get that reinforcer. So this one can complicate things, especially if you got kiddos who tend to show some aggression, or they just have a real hard time waiting. Or if, like I said, if they're brand new to something, I really would not recommend making them do a whole large task analysis prior to even earning a reinforcement, because they're going to be they're going to be done with it. Two, by the time they get the reinforcer, it's going to feel like, well, what's the point of this? So just when you're using total task chaining, make sure you know your kiddo, and make sure you know what your end goal is. So how can you use chaining with your child? Well, you probably are already doing this, like I said, and you don't even realize it. So you're teaching your child new skills. So when you're teaching them to brush their teeth, are you doing it with total task? Are you doing it with forward chaining? Are you doing it backwards chaining? Things to think about. Washing their hands, like I said before with the cake, baking is another type of chaining. There's so many behaviors that we do on a daily basis that are considered chaining, and most of the time we just don't think about it like that. So like doing your laundry, you sort your laundry, you put it in the washing machine, you add the detergent, you hit the button to turn it on, and then, I mean, you chain that behavior of doing laundry. Doing the dishes, if you're doing it old school, I don't know, my mom always taught me, you fill up the sink, you put the silverware in the water, then you will put the bowls and the plates, and then you wash it that way. You rinse it, and then you dry it. That's chaining behavior of doing dishes. I mean, there are so many things, like I said, that we do that most of the time we just don't think about. And chaining is a super natural way of learning new behaviors. When I use chaining personally here at home, I like to use pictures or video. With my son, he has on his door a chart of his morning routine, the things he needs there, how he gets dressed in the morning, and his nighttime routine. So his morning routine, wake up, go potty, get dressed, eat breakfast, brush teeth, put on your book bag, and go to school. So that is his chaining behavior of going to school, or getting ready for school, I should say. And then I have below it getting dressed. So I list out what he needs to do first. So he needs to put on his underwear, he needs to put on his pants, he put on his shirt, his socks and shoes, and then he can come in and eat breakfast. And the same thing with bedtime. He's got a routine, it's a routine, but I'm trying to get him to do it independently. So I'm chaining that behavior to make it an independent bedtime schedule. So I did that with a picture chart. And there's also a way of doing it called video modeling. And this is actually something I'm super interested in. I'm actually working on my personal end for school, a literature review on the effects of video modeling. Once I have that all done and proofread and all that stuff, I'll make that available to anybody who wants it. But it's going to take a while though, so don't hold your breath. But video modeling, essentially what you could do with chaining is what I've done with my son. Again, I did a going to the bathroom independently video. So I recorded all the steps to going to the bathroom, saying, I need to go to the bathroom. Then he had to walk to the bathroom. He had to turn on the light. He had to pull his pants down and sit on the potty. And then I completed all those steps in a task analysis. And then I recorded it. And then he got to watch each step of the chain, how to go to the bathroom. So I was really excited to do that one. So if anybody's interested in that as well, I would love to share it. Just hit me up here on Facebook, or you can email me at dittoremotecoaching@gmail.com. I would be glad to send that your guys' way. And honestly, today is a super short one because apparently I like chaining so much I talk about it way too fast. But what I'm going to do, like I always do, is here are our helpful links. I'm going to paste those into the comments right now. Most of these are going to be your videos this time. One of them, actually, as strange as it sounds, is a rat completing the different types of chaining. I thought it was a very interesting way of showing it, and I really kind of liked it. The other ones talk about backwards chaining and forward chaining and things like that. If you ever want to know other ways of doing chaining, you could always watch my son's favorite show, Bob Ross. He actually does forward chaining because you got to paint the background, then you paint all the little things forward. But so if you just mix it around, it wouldn't be as pretty of a picture and it wouldn't have that dimension. So it's just something else to think about. So as usual, I used the Cooper text, which is the ABA Bible, as some people refer to it as. And honestly, that is chaining in a nutshell. If you guys want to know any more information on chaining or any more information period on different ABA topics, feel free to post it on the page or put it in a comment on the YouTube page. Remember, as always, to share this video, to like it, to join the group, and to subscribe to the YouTube page. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on another week, and I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. So it'll be next week, Tuesday, 3 o'clock, as usual. You guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Tuesday.